Dear registrants, good afternoon. Welcome you to the day 4 of FDP session 3. Today we have Mr. Shashidhar from AMS India. Advanced Mechanical Services Private Limited India is a technology conglomerate providing solutions and services around automation and engineering to its customers worldwide. The company has developed various products for both additive and subtractive manufacturing suitable for research and development labs and helps reduce the lead time for product development. AMS manufacture machines for industrial research, laboratory research, budget research, and biological research. So, Mr. Shashidhar represents AMS India, who is a technocrat with over 30 years of industrial experience. Started career as a heavy welding engineer in Larsen and Turbo. Later joined ABB Robotics as one of the first employees to develop the robotic automation market in the country. Supported a private startup company to establish one of the first offshore 24 into 7 manufacturing engineering service providers and later joined AMS India as CEO and director. Having extensively worked on robotics and automation in automotive industry with the passion to provide unique solutions, 3D printers were developed to cater the R&D market to make product development easier and also to help medical industry make scaffolds with bioinks. As an extension to the controls automation capabilities, Mr. Shashidhar has developed IoT-based solutions to collect data of different kinds such as digital, analog or image and process the same to help remotely control or analyze the collected data to help better decision making. In order to fight the COVID-19 crisis, Shashidhar has developed an infrared thermography-based temperature sensor for rapid measurement and real-time decision making using an uncooled microbolometer and video analytics double IoT platform, which is well accepted by the Technology Development Board of Department of Science and Technology and was funded for implementation across India. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and also we have another speaker for the day, Mr. Abhishek. Mr. Abhishek works as a Deputy Application Engineering 4D Simulations Adroitech Information Systems Private Limited. Abhishek has 5+ years of technical experience in additive manufacturing. A mechanical graduate, started his career as project engineer in Gandhi Automations, pursued internship as a design engineer in Design Tech Systems, rapid prototyping engineer in Divide by Zero Technologies, and deputy app manager in Android Tech. He helps manufacturing companies to identify and implement additive manufacturing in their company, right from the conceptual design to the end part manufacturing. So, in their R&D production line, assembly line, and QC department to adopt the 3D printing to increase the productivity and get high impact on cost saving. He also works in the design for manufacturing to create awareness among the industries for adopting generative design for their current manufacturing process. We welcome you, Abhishek.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sir, you can proceed with your presentation.
Shall I? Actually, we'll have it in 2 sessions, like you just told. And first, I will share my screen. I will give you a brief introduction and different facets of additive manufacturing and the machine that we make and how it has been helpful to many R&D institutions across the globe. And after that, I think Mr. Abhishek is going to talk in little more detail about the different applications that additive manufacture is able to offer. So, shall I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Able to see my screen, madam?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please maximize the screen.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fine, sir.
Okay. We are a company basically made out of Bangalore. We have a factory in Peenya. We basically come from the engineering automation background. Primarily, we are specialists in making cars. Our company, we have more than 120 people who design factories to make cars. This has been our prime business for the last 3 decades. A couple of years back, we also had the opportunity to design machines because there was a downturn in the automotive market and the projects were less. And because of that, we actually thought of using our resources and skills, and we had to grow somewhere. And so this was the main need for us to actually develop something. And that was the time when 3D printing was slowly getting traction in the world, and that is when we entered into this market and developed the machine locally. And from then on, we have been making this machine. Primarily, I will try to segregate my whole presentation into these categories. We make 4 types of machines. I will talk about all the 4 types of machines. I also will talk about the different types of heads which go along with the machine for various applications. I will talk about the accessories of the machine, which is really going to be, which will give an insight on how versatile a machine can be. I will also give a little bit information on a topic called waste to wealth. Maybe it will be very useful for the students and for the community because of the time that we are at the moment. I will also talk about materials which can be printed or which we can do additive manufacturing. And I will also give you information on connectivity of this machine, which will really help in the research for research purposes. Our factory is in Peenya. It's about 2,500 square foot, and we make 4 machines. Basically, we classify our machines into 4 brands: industrial research machine, laboratory research, biological research, and budget research. There are 4 categories of machines that we make. I will go through, when I talk more in depth, I will tell you what these machines are specifically and why we have categorized it like that. But fundamentally, the gist of what our machines can do, as a snapshot, I am giving it to you in this slide. The machines are all steel. One of the most important things that we have done on our machine, it can be both subtractive and additive in nature. That means you can also do additive manufacturing, and you can also do subtractive operations like machining, or you can also remove material and other things. It can accommodate 5 tools at a time. That means you can do 5 different materials can be processed. So we can basically, this is a feature with which we'll be able to mix and match different materials, thereby making composites. Or it can be used for biological purposes for mixing different gels or different liquids together. It has different, the machine is flexible enough. So what we have done is we have developed different modular heads which are interchangeable and can be used across any machine. Across the platforms, these modular heads are common. So one can have a head and basically for civil engineering purposes, and tomorrow another head can be attached for electronics department, and the day after tomorrow something else for the mechanical. So a lot of people can use the machine at the same time, only the heads are going to be different. A machine has a capability to print up to 450 degrees centigrade. That is the temperature to which our electrodes can go up to. So anything that can melt within 450 degrees centigrade can be printed on our machine. Different types of materials, including filaments, pellets, powders, pastes, gels, etc., can be printed. We have a hot aluminum bed on which we can print. Apart from that, there are many more accessories which I will give it to you, which I will show it to you in a little more detail in the coming slides. As a bending attachment, rotating 4th axis, 5th axis, IoT interface, etc., etc. Basically, these are the general thing that we have. We have 3 machines: the industrial research, laboratory research, biological research machine. And we have been supplying these machines to most of the R&D institutions across India. You might see from this slide that many of the IITs and many of the other colleges and BARC, ISRO, these are the people who have purchased. So this is basically very much suited for R&D purposes. Across the globe, we have supplied this to many more countries. We have supplied this to more than 35 countries. Our machines are there. More than 650 machines are done and supplied, including it has been supplied to NASA also and many other institutions across the globe. Quickly, I just want to go through one small topic from which we started this whole activity, something called precious plastics. couple of years back, there's an organization called Precious Plastics, and this organization is from Netherlands. They wanted to save plastics wastage and reuse it, recycle it, and create something by which people can use this wasted plastics and make something useful out of it. So we created a concept called as waste to wealth. And then actually what we did was we created machines under the same category of waste to wealth, and this is given as kits, it is given as technology, it is given at a very low cost for students or for people who want to do a job, who do not have jobs, who want to do something as a startup, who want to do some project of their own, who want to make some money. Okay, as a community itself, people are having these machines nowadays to utilize ways by which plastic can be processed. And we also make little higher types of machines which are semi-industrial in nature, and wherein we can create different types of parts which are made in plastic. Basically, these are the machines that we are making. The plastic shredding machine, where all the waste can be converted into plastics, where all the plastic waste can be converted into pellets, and these pellets can be put into an extruder by which we'll be able to make filaments, which can be converted into filaments, which can be printed. This is the whole storyline of converting from waste to wealth. Initially, a person who is trying to look out for a job can just look at the plastic extrusion, plastic shredding machine, put it in his own community, bakeries, houses, apartments, etc. Whatever plastics are being generated within the house itself can be shredded into pellets, and people are there to purchase those pellets, and they are able to use it for a variety of purposes, where they pay money and take the waste. So throwing those things, community-wise, we can convert it into pellets. And then we can use the same pellets. They can go for the next machine where they can make filaments of different categories or different shapes and sizes. And then it can be also used for 3D printing and making parts. This is the storyline. I would like to now give you details about the 3 individual machines that we are manufacturing, and give you a little more details on what the machine can do and what are the features on the machine, whereby we will be able to do a lot of operations which makes the machine very powerful. This machine is called Hydra. We make machines under the brand name of AMS Hyrel 3D printing machine. Hyrel stands for high reliability. Call this machine Hydra 16A. It's a freestanding machine. It's a gantry type design, and wherein you have the X, Y, Z motions. The machine has 600 into 400 into 250 in the smaller size of machine. The bed size is that much. On the bigger machine, it is 600, 400 into 500 millimeters in size. The machine has got very capabilities of printing up to 450 degrees centigrade, which means the bed itself can be taken to nearly 200 degrees centigrade. It has got a very high, it's got a baking unit where the filaments are first baked to remove the moisture. It can also be taken from 0 to 250 degrees centigrade itself on the baking oven and then used for printing. That is the feature of the machine. The machine is pretty accurate by itself. It has got a closed loop encoder feedback CNC controlled machine. So all the programming is done just like how we do for a CNC machine. We can program it using G codes itself. So the machine is made so versatile that we can program it just like how we do any other programming. It doesn't necessarily have to follow the conventional process of additive manufacturing by slicing itself. The machine has got 5 different tool positions, and basically we have categorized all the extruders that we have into 3 categories: cold flow, warm flow, and hot flow. In the cold flow extruders, what we do is we have material which can be extruded in cold condition. That means when it is cold. Examples like pastes. Somebody wants to print, or somebody wants to make something in cement, or they want to print something in plaster of Paris, or they want to print something in ceramics. They want to print something like food grade material. All these are cold flow. If they have, they can print in cold flow extruders. And gels, epoxies, everything can be done on cold flow. On the warm flow options, we can have a chamber which is heated and then the material is extruded through the warm flow. So materials like wax, materials like PVA, PCL, which melts at very less temperature, including, for example, which about 60 degrees it will melt, 70 degrees these materials melt. So if you want to print using such material, you can use this extruder which will warm it up to 180 degrees centigrade, and then we will be able to print it out. Hot flow options can go up to 450 degrees centigrade. Necessarily, they are all in the form of filaments of plastics of three categories. Low temperature plastics, which are general plastics like ABS and PLA. We have engineering plastics, which are a little higher in temperature plastics. And we have very hot melting temperatures, which are very hard material like PEEK and ULTEM, which melts at 410 to 430 degrees centigrade. These are the different categories of extruders which are there for printing. Apart from this, our machine has an option to have a laser attachment. That means we have a diode laser with which we will be able to cut, or we will be able to do some finishing operations using diode lasers. We have 6-watt and 5-watt diode lasers which can be used for cutting foam, cutting sponge and things of that sort, any shapes. So you want to make some packing material, cut in paper, etc. It can be done. You want to cut a template in paper, we can cut it in these lasers. We also have a high power laser like a 80-watt laser, which is really used for cutting plastics. So whenever you are printing plastics, if you want to cut some plastics also of a higher thickness, 6 mm or 8 mm, we can cut with a high power laser. We have up to 80-watt CO2 laser. We have a spindle tool compatibility, so you can have a spindle tool which rotates at nearly 818. Excuse me. So it's a spindle tool which can rotate at nearly 18,000 RPM, and this spindle tool also gets attached on the same machine. And machine has got up to 6 axes can be controlled on this machine, and it's also got a microscope attachment. The next machine I want to introduce is the laboratory research machine, which is a smaller machine of 200 by 200 in size, which can be only for additive purposes, additive manufacturing. It is not a gantry design, it is a knee design, knee type of a design. We call it a system printing. Different materials that we print on the machine, ABS, PLA, plastics, etc. We have categorized and shown you what all material can be done on the hot flow extruders, what all materials can be done on the cold flow extruders, and what all can be done on the warm flow extruders. You can see here, including precious metal clay, like many of the jewelry manufacturers use precious metal clay, and they use this thing for printing. You can print porcelain, you can print waxes, you can print epoxies, you can print RTV silicone. Also silicone, especially what we room temperature metallizing silicone, or we can also have photopolymerization silicone printed on the same in the cold flow extruder. And in the hot flow extruders, we can go up to PEEK and ULTEM and things which are very high temperature plastics. Warm flow extruders consist of molten wax and PEG and P-wax, etc. are printed on the warm flow extruders. Some of the different materials that we have printed, you can see ceramics and other things. Most important over here, different extruders. I just want to categorize and show you what is the difference between these extruders and how we are being able to print using this thing. First is I will talk about the hot flow print heads. The hot flow print heads are all basically 1.75 mm filament print heads, but you can see it goes up to 250 degrees centigrade, and this is one extruder, and you can see there is a controller on the extruder itself. This makes this extruder very unique. Since the control is on the extruder, I can interchange it. I can take it and put it on any machine, and still it will work. There is a controller which actually talks to the CNC, and it ensures this particular extruder works only with this particular machine. This is the hot flow head. We have up to 450. That means MK1 stands for one motor, MK2 stands for two motors. Some of the filaments are very soft in nature, which needs two motors, otherwise the filament will cut. And so we have MK2 and we have MK1 filament. MK1 is only for one single filament extruders. Then in the cold flow, we have three materials. We have three different extruders made up of three different materials. One is aluminum extruders, materials which are soft in nature, materials which are like pastes, etc. can be printed with these extruders. It is called as an EMO extruder. And this extruder basically has got a attachment at the bottom where if they want, we can have a UV curing also. up to 395 nanometers, we can have UV curing. So whatever, if you put silicons and you want it to be cured instantly, you can have this attachment wherein it will be curing immediately. And we also have a heating attachment on the machine on this extruder. So the same extruder put will be heated and during printing, and it's also got a heating with a UV cure. And you can see this is like a CNC axis. There is a ball screw into which the screw and the nut is designed so that the motor over here rotates it and squeezes it along with the XYZ motion of the machine. Thereby, the motion is controlled with the material outflow, and that is how printing is being done in this type of an extruder. This type of an extruder, it is the same technology is used, but we have the extruders are made up of stainless steel. The extruder body is made up of stainless steel. Especially when you have material which are corrosive, which are reactive in nature, we use a stainless steel extruder instead of something else. And not only that, the metal is hard, especially which is like ceramic pastes are pretty hard in nature. So we have an extra torque motor on this particular extruder. Again, it has got features for cooling it very fast, like a Storum cooler, and it's also got a UV cure, and it can also be heated up to 150 degrees centigrade. This is stainless steel extruder. The third type is the same attachment on our extruder goes with a plastic syringe. This is a similar injection syringe which we use at different sizes. The same injection syringe can be used for printing. This is where it makes a difference. The extruder again goes onto the same machine that we have, but most important is this disposable item. If you have liquids or if you have gels or paste, which can be used one time, and if you have to throw it or if you have to mix and print, in such cases we use this type of an extruder where it is a use and throw type of system. So the plastic syringes are used, and we can print with this also. And again, this is CNC controlled. It is an axis by itself. It has got a motor, and that is how we are able to print. And you have dual syringe system where you have two syringes and then a mixing head. I'd like to highlight some of the accessories which go on the machine apart from the extruders, and this accessory really makes the machine very, very friendly for research purposes. Like I told you, there's a diode laser. This diode, again, all this going to the same yoke on the machine. The machine yoke, there are 5 heads, 5 tool heads, 5 things. As soon as you put this particular extruder on the head, immediately it identifies what it is, and the operations related to this can be performed. You can see over here that it's also got an inspection microscope on the machine. So this is again controlled by G codes. Whatever I'm showing you, everything is programmed and controlled by G codes. So when you're programming, suppose you want to make a research paper, somebody wants to print layer by layer and take images of every layer. People want to print layer by layer. Every layer they are going to take snapshots. So in a G code, we'll be able to take the images and save it in a folder. And these images can then be taken for purposes of making your reports or papers, etc. That is the purpose of the inspection microscope. You have a magnetic build plate which can be removed easily for taking the metal out. We also have a box furnace wherein when we want to print metallic parts, filaments with metallic filaments are available. We print metallic parts and then we can sinter that particular green part in our box furnace over here, which is going up to 1700 degrees centigrade. This is the box furnace. The other attachments that go with the machine are, we have a powder feeder attachment. So we can actually print powders. So you can print sand and you can print iron powder. And when you print sand and iron powder in different layers, the iron powder is something which actually takes the shape of the end part that we need. Then we have an infill material kept on top of the crucible, and then we can actually put it in our furnace, and thereby the infill will melt at a lesser temperature than the bare iron powder, and then it percolates down, diffuses, and it makes a solid part. This is a patented design of ours. It is called as micro diffusion process. For the powder feeder attachment is capable of doing micro diffusion, so making steel parts with that. So people can do a lot of research across the world. People are doing something with this attachment, wherein they are trying out and developing different alloys of steels and combinations of steels and many other materials. And again, we have a attachment wherein we can print labels and stickers on the machine. So if you want on the same attachment, we have a piezoelectric extruder also mounted on a similar head, wherein you'll be able to do conductive ink printing. There's an electronic student who wants to make a circuit diagram or print a circuit and check how exactly the circuit works. can actually put a conductive ink into it and he will be able to print. And after it is printed, they can test it out, and if it is okay, they can go in for mass production. But for doing R&D purposes, this is very, very useful attachment. There is an attachment for printing peak pipes. We are working with Vikram Sarabhai Space Center in Trivandrum. There is a new methodology by which they want to make the fuel transportation pipes in the plane, I mean in the rockets, which can go up to minus 130 degrees centigrade. So we are printing PEEK and carbon fiber mix in this particular circular condition, and then they are testing it out now to take up to 40 bars pressure and minus 135 degrees centigrade to see whether it leaks or how it works. If this is successful by the VSSE, then they will be able to make rockets which can take higher amount of load or more number of satellites can be launched. We have a continuous ceramic extruder with bulk feeding attachment, so you'll be able to print a bigger parts. Like for DRDO, we are printing a very huge rocket cone, like a bomb cone. It's nearly 500 millimeters in height. So this ceramic, once they fit it to the front of the bomb, so when the bomb is ejected out, when it falls, there's a pin which actually has to squeeze and then the bomb will burst. But here we are trying to make it out of ceramic, so when it drops itself, it is sure that it's going to break. This is the fundamental of this is how it makes the machine more powerful for printing ceramics. It's got an IoT inspection equipment, so it can check the parts, and whatever it is inspecting, all those data can be put in a remote server. So we'll be able to measure whatever we are making, or just can be used for inspection purposes also. It is IoT dependent. So it is not only taking the data, it is connected to a CAN bus. From the CAN bus, the data RS-232 data is converted and it is saved into a remote database for measurement purposes or for analysis purposes. We have a gripper attachment. So if you want to pick and place, or if you want to have some attachment in the for research, you want to test, you want to pick it after printing, you want to have an attachment, you want to pick up the part and put it aside, or you want to use an inspection equipment like a laser inspection equipment, you want to inspect it, segregate the part as good or bad, gripper attachment is very useful. The filament baking attachment, which you can see over here, is basically baking the filament, taking it to a temperature of 200-250 degrees centigrade, because in conditions in India, where the moisture is actually an enemy for plastics, this actually helps in removing the moisture in the filament before printing, thereby the quality of printing itself is going to be better. There's a bending attachment on the machine by which you'll be able to bend also plastic material by heating the bottom of the plastic and using it for bending. You can see over here is a turning milling attachment. Similarly, especially for students, especially for colleges, we have a pen attachment. If they have to teach students G codes and M codes, they can actually write the G code or the M code and use a pen to actually draw on a piece of paper. And thereby, they will be able to see what the G code is. Suppose say G01, X so much, Y so much, and from here to here, they can actually make it move in a particular shape or a pattern, and then they will see that this is a good, the code is good, and that's how they learn G codes and M codes. Also, hot air blower attachment on the machine to make sure that the quality is very good for this thing. And the next thing is for the connectivity and maintenance. The machine basically has an excellent connectivity. We have an OPC, a server attached on the machine. So basically you can get data out. Suppose somebody wants to do research on artificial intelligence, or they want to do machine learning or deep learning exercises, they want data. So we can, this OPC actually throws the data of print data itself. Every second it is programmed. So this data keeps coming out of the machine continuously throughout the time of print, whereby you can check, you can do data analysis, and even computer science students are doing it. We are working with NIT Calicut for doing more and more work in this particular area. They're using this facility for doing a lot of work on machine learning and also for preventive maintenance purposes. We have a machine vision also, whereby remotely you can see what is being printed and you can control what is being printed also. We have a team viewer on the machine, and it is IoT compliant. I mean, it is industry 4.0 compliant, and we will be able to get complete control of the machine by using team viewer. This is about the industrial research machines which I just mentioned. Everything to do with the two machines, Hydra and the System 30, is what I have done till now. from here onwards, I'll be talking a little bit on the biological research machine that we have. This is a bioprinting machine. The machine is very much useful for bioprinting. What it does is basically it has got a very small area of printing, 100 by 100 by 100 mm, but there is a very clear cut benefit of this machine, because it's a very accurate machine. The machine is got no everything is a direct drive, CNC controlled, and it is a very precise machine which can print in wells with special heads that are made for this purpose. I'll go through it in detail. The machine also has an attachment wherein we make a biosafety cabinet, because of biological printing. We can also put it in this particular this biosafety cabinet, and then use it for printing remote. That means you don't have to touch the machine. You can actually get the whole control outside the machine, and you'll be able to control the machine from outside the biosafety cabinet itself. Because I know this is being used for a lot of biological research purposes, this feature is given. And then this machine actually is an extrusion based machine. It is similar to the same injection syringes that I have. 5 different syringes can be put together on the machine and printed to form different shapes. This is predominantly used for making tissue engineering. This machine is used, or this facility is used for tissue engineering. And this machine has got a feature for printing different types of scaffolds, rafts, and dams which are required. And I will show you what it does in the next coming slides. But like to bring your attention to this particular site called our own. It's a wiki page, hiral3d.net, where papers are published based on our machine. When we supply a machine, whenever a student or a researcher publishes a paper, we take the link and put it here. You can just go through this, and you can go through the link over here and see the different types of papers that are being published in different areas, which will really help the R&D or the research purposes. You can see in our website there are more than 300-400 papers. People interested can please go through this website. I have listed down some of the bio or whatever applications have been done on our machine using biomaterials. The details of each one of this is actually there in our website, in the previous website what I just showed, hiral3d.net. You can download the paper. You can go through it in detail, whatever is listed. I don't want to detail it in each one over here because it takes too much time. I think Abhishek will be giving you a little more detail on bioprinting. But here basically they are printed with ceramics, calcium phosphate, salts, composites, dental filling. These are all the different types of biomaterials, and how this is being done on our machine printing is being depicted in the website and in the papers that are being published. Similarly, these are all the different biomaterials used in the same printing that we have got. Nanofibrillated NFCs and PVAs, different are there. Many of these things have been listed down in detail in our website. You can go through all this bioprinting, how it is done. And basically what features we are given on the machine for doing such bio applications, I will explain it to you. First, the machine is called Engine HR, the high resolution machine. It works on the SDS extruder, specially made for this purpose. The SDS extruders have got, it is like an external axis, one more axis, and then it works with different cylinders. So the SDS was compatible in industrial research machine up to 120cc cylinders. Here only 10cc cylinders are adapted to this. Different biomaterials are there. It also comes with a 24 well plate, electronic wafer plate, into which we are able to print scaffolds if required. And then we have, you can see the software, whatever you're seeing on the screen is basically a screenshot of what is there. You can print the raft and the scaffold. You can create these scaffolds for printing in bio inks. And that is what we have shown. This is a graphical view of the whole scaffold, and this is how it is printed. After it has been printed, the image is over. And the Repetrel software that we have has got this scaffold printing in a well. You can actually have it as in 10 micron, up to 10 microns. You can do between layers and between things. You can program it in G code, however it is required. You can have zebra prints. You can have dams, scaffolds, pockets, everything printed on the same machine. These are all the tools which are given basically for bioprinting, where we can print the different types of bio inks, basically for bio inks. And not only that, our machine has got a refrigerated extruder. The extruder is refrigerated, so it can go sub-ambient temperature. Whatever material you want to print, you can take it to much less than 0 degrees, and you also have a bed which can go up to 0 degrees. Sub-ambient temperatures also it can go. Not only heating, it can also be cooled down for biological printing purposes. RSD stands for refrigerator syringe device. And you can see, yeah, again, the same extruders, we also have ultraviolet rays. Here we have ultraviolet not for curing purposes, but also for killing also. So you can go up to minor ultraviolet C, we can program on this. So after it has been printed, you can actually use it for killing the different types of tissues if required. And minus 10 to plus 35 is what we can take the extruder and the bed. And there's a clench valve, so you want to mix and match different liquids together and do the experiments metered quantity. You want 10 ml of one liquid and 3 ml of another, you can program it and exactly mix and match and check it out. What is the reaction that is going to happen on this using this particular feature. And you can also mix and print, not only mix and test, can be mixed and printed out also. And I know that this particular mixer that we have got has been purchased by many R&D institutions for tissue engineering purposes. And this is a image of the very cold, the bed getting cold. You can see all ice getting formed, and this is the well into which it prints, and this is the bed which is going to sub-zero temperatures. Different types of medical parts that have been printed on our machine are listed out here. We also have tied up here channel training partner for Siemens. So if people want, we train people on design for additive manufacturing, DFAM. Siemens has a software in NX, a module called as DFAM. We give training on using the Siemens package, and they get a certificate also from Siemens. And this certificate is given to the individual who goes through the training and passes it in the Siemens website after our training is given. So we are channel partner with Siemens. We also work closely with Suprajeev as training partners. They depute their engineers for training. They have been trained by us, so they act as faculty. They will organize the training, and Siemens will give the certification also. This is done specifically for many colleges where they want us to go and either train the students or train the faculty for 3D printing purposes. Different types of 3D printing. This is we have the syllabus, we have the material, everything to give this training, and a snapshot of the different types of certifications. We are CE certified, we have a patent on the machine, and we are also ISO certified. This is just an introduction about the machine that we have, with which we'll be able to do all these operations that I just mentioned. And I have nothing more to present, but I think maybe Abhishek can take over from here and continue the presentation. Is there any questions you have on this? I'll be very happy to answer it right now. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Is there any questions that you have, or I can answer it right now, or if you want at the end also, or if you want Abhishek to continue, he will continue from. I'm just seeing there are some messages in the chat. I don't know if I have to answer it or I have to write it back, but you know, I can, my name is Shashidhar, my mobile number also I'm putting on the screen. People can take my mobile number, and my mail ID I will also put. So I have also put my mail ID in the chat box. Whoever wants can take my mail ID, because some people are asking for my thing. And apart from that, can you provide individual? 100%, Mr. Prakash, sir, we can give you training individually. I don't have a problem. You can use our machine and we can train you. That is okay. How can we update the data onto the 3D machine? Mr. Prashant, sir, we can put it on the 3D machine by variety of ways. One, you can have on our machine, we have this Repetrel software. The advantage is you can have Repetrel software, 40-50 licenses we can give along with the machine. So you can put it on your individual computers across many students. Everybody can have the software. You can do the 3D model, you can do everything, and then make the G codes on the machine itself. And you can edit the G codes also manually if you want. And only that, you can send it to the printer for printing through a network. That means if it is, you can use it like a network printer, or you can send it directly on a Wi-Fi. and there are the connectivity. It is an OPC machine, sir. It can be sent. Data can be sent very easily. Data can be sent. It is a network. TCP/IP connection is there also on the machine. So that is the advantage of this thing. And is there any? I don't know. I'm not able to in this session. Okay. Thank you, sir. I don't know if there's any more questions. You can please send me a mail or you can give me a call or send my mobile number and anything. If there's anything, I can answer you later also. Thank you all. Abhishek, in case you want, you can continue.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Just a minute, I will share my screen. So, thank you, Shashi sir. Shashi sir have given us an input about the about the printer and its different features, how we can make a different part. So I will just give you insight on the applications what the 3D printer is capable. So before that, we'll just give you a brief about the traditional manufacturing process. Can you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So basically right now, if we see in the, we are into industry 4.0 and we are trying to make the manufacturing shop floors more and more advanced. We are trying to connect it with the digital manufacturing. We are making the machines more smarter with IoTs, big data, AI, and then machine learning codes. So if we see right now, the traditionally how we manufacture the things, we have generally two manufacturing trends. One is a subtractive manufacturing and another one is a formative manufacturing technology. So in subtractive manufacturing, we go on subtracting a material from a desired block, or we melt the material and add it in a core or cavity of a sand cast. And in formative manufacturing technology, we first go and designing the mold, we manufacture the molds, and then we force the material to melt and take the shape which is reflected on the cavity of the mold. And then we have a sheet metal bending tools where we try to bend the sheet metal to take the desired process. So these are traditional manufacturing tools which needs a lot of sets of different tools. Like for the machining, we need different types of CNC machines with turning, boring, milling. Need a lot of different tools. So if we see the current manufacturing process, right from designing to get the final parts manufactured, there are a lot of stages. First is the conceptual designs. Once you have a design done in your product development cycle, you go on testing those designs. You make the prototypes traditionally, and you may need to make the prototype with the tooling for the prototyping. So once the prototype is validated with the fitment testing, with the drop testing, with the functional testing, you actually go for the machining, or either you are if you are going for the batch manufacturing, you are choosing the casting method, or if like 10 go for the injection molding. So for that, we need to define the production process, we need to define the tooling, we need to manufacture the fixture fabrication. If we are going with the injection molding, we need to make the different kinds of the molds. And if we are going with the machine, we have to program it with like a CAM programming. Then we have to manage the logistics, supply chains, the raw material procurement. So there are lots of processes and stages involved in the traditional manufacturing. So it takes a very longer time when we design the parts. So 3D printing is nothing but a toolless manufacturing technology. Once you have a CAD design, you can directly go to replicate those parts with the 3D printer and get parts physically made. They introduction. I think you have patience on a 3D jump to application instead of different technologies in a 3D printing. So if we see really, 3D printing is a one-go process where we can bridge the gap between actual designing the part to the final part. Because as we know that 3D printing is a tool-less manufacturing technology, we don't need any specific set of machineries, any specific production method, or any specific tooling development technology. Because if you have a CAD design, you can directly print it with a 3D printer. 3D printer is nothing but it's a tool-less manufacturing technology where a nozzle or a particular material is deposited on a stationary platform layer by layer to replicate a desired profile which you have designed. So where is the area of the interest, where is the scope of this 3D printing application? So if you see, whatever you can think, you can design, you can directly replicate into actual physical product. So there are a lot of potential in each of the industry, especially with military and defense, aerospace, then automobile, mobility, transportation, very much potential in the healthcare, the biomedical field, which can accelerate the research and development in terms of the tissue engineering. Then in terms of the electronics, consumer goods, so we'll see one by one applications. So if you see the military and defense, there are lots of gadgets are made, lots of defense drones are made, a lot of surveillance drones are made, lot of guns, shells, and defense instruments are made. So if you go with the traditional manufacturing, it takes a lot of time, because first you need to make a prototype, validate it, then you need to go for the production, you need to machine it, select the material, then again you need to test it. So different kinds of processes are involved in this particular technology. But if you go with the 3D printing, you don't need any of these processes. So a lot of drones, lot of cover parts, helicopter FR coating parts can be directly made with the 3D printing. Lot of jigs, fixtures, and the functional part can be easily made with the 3D printing. So 3D printing is very suitable for the prototyping, initial fitment application, to approve your designs and to accelerate your product development cycles. So once you develop, sorry, I got disconnected. So lot of potential in the prototyping. Then once your prototype is approved, then you can do the actual functional prototyping. Then if you see, you can make the conceptual models to accelerate your product development cycle, for the forms and fitment testing, for the functional prototyping. So you can prototype the injection molded parts, the high detail model. So it can what are the advantages with additive manufacturing is it can iterate faster from design to prototype. So you can get your ideas reflected very easily on a physical object, and you can then it will be very helpful you to imagine in actual format. So it will reduce the time to which spent on creating design concept and ideas, and it will give you the highly accurate part quickly for more efficient start of product design cycles. Then you can test those parts with the functional testing, and once it is approved, you can move for the production cycle. So this is what 3D printing was limited till that for the prototyping and those. But if you see right now, the 3D printing, it can be actually implemented on your actual production cycle or actual production process. So if you see different types of production lines, assembly lines, QC line, there are a lot of parts which we use. We use a lot of jigs and fixtures in each production cycle. In each production station, we need to hold the particular workpiece on which we are turning into a final product. We need to do a lot of operations on that. So with each operation station, we need a lot of jigs, fixtures, grippers to actually hold the part, to pick up the part, place it on another part, or we need different types of end of tooling arm to perform different types of operations. We need different types of a forming tool, like a press, dies, punches, to form the shape of a metal sheet. Then we need lots of go-no-go gauges, receiver gauges, profile check gauges, limit gauges to actually validate the parts on a production line and to qualify it for the next production cycle. Then there are, if you are using a coordinate measuring machine, CMM, there are a lot of inspection fixtures can be directly 3D printed. So we'll see this in the detail. So right now, if you see this black color part, it is a fixture which is 3D printed. So earlier it is used to be machined. So when you are machining a part, first it is of a metal. It will be a very heavy, it will be very heavy by weight, and then it takes a lot of time to produce that part, because right from designing a programming for machining that part, then you need to arrange the tool magazine, you need to arrange different types of a tool setup on a workplace of a CNC, and then you need a high skilled manpower to operate those machines. So when you choose a 3D printing, if you have a CAD design, on a single button you can click on a print, a part can be printed on a 3D printer within few hours of a time. So it will save a lot in terms of the cost, and it will save a lot in terms of the time, because earlier your lead time of a week can be reduced to one single day. You can directly 3D print this part with a like a high engineering grade thermoplastic materials, where you can reinforce it with a continuous carbon fiber to get around 800 MPa of a tensile strength, which is equivalent to T6 grade of aluminum, which is 6061 aluminum. So you can print a part on a 3D printer which have a strength which is greater than the metal part, but it will be a very lightweight because it's use a continuous carbon fiber reinforcement, so that your part will sustain on your production line, and it will give you around 75 to 80% of the cost and the time saving. So this is again a company called Vastlia. This is a US based company. They have printed this piston lifting tool with continuous fiber reinforcement. So this tool is used to lift a piston which have around 900 kg of the weight. So this black color part is 3D printed. So if you see on the industry, earlier this part was a machine part. So issue with the machine part is that it was a very expensive. Then second thing was when the metal is coming in contact with the metal surface, it has a friction, and it was giving some defects on this outer periphery of actual piston. So they might need to reject those pistons. So when they printed it in a nylon material with a continuous fiber reinforcement, this part is performing the same function. It is a very high duty, high strength part, but it's a very lightweight part, and it can lift the 900 kg of the piston from one workstation, and it will place it to another workstation. So there is around huge saving in terms of the costs. It's around $100K US, and around 75% weight is reduced than the earlier machine part. So 3D printing have its own sets of benefits. So if you see, these are the assembly jigs for the electronic manufacturing company. So if you see the PCB manufacturer, a lot of routing of the conductive ink need to be done. There are multi-layer PCBs. There are dielectric materials in the PCB. So these all need to be reflected on a PCB. So there are different working stations. So when these operations are going on, you need something sturdy which can hold the PCB, which will give you zero deviation while the operation is going on. If you use the metal one, there is a chance that it can harm the connection, it can harm the PCBs. So you can use those jigs which is printed in the high strength polymers. In case of a testing, there are lots of test fixtures, bracket, jigs, then custom wall holdings you can directly 3D print. So these are again application end of tooling arm in the automation. So if you see right now, we are into Industry 4, and almost all of our manufacturing lines are automated. They are with robotics and automation. We use lot of PLCs, we use lots of robots and cobots. So this is one case study like where we printed several parts on a robotic arm which are 3D printed. First one is the end arm, which is used to pick and place the part from one station to another station. Then there are the tooling end, which performs different types of operation. And if you see the squared part, there are lots of parts which we can directly 3D print. So what is the motto behind 3D printing this part is we like huge saving in terms of the cost and in terms of the time. And second thing is the design freedom. So as 3D printer is a toolless manufacturing technology, we can create as complex as part we can, because traditional manufacturing have its own sets of limitations. So when we are designing a part, we need to consider those manufacturing limits of each process, like for the injection molding, for the machining. But 3D printing is a free from limitations. You can there is only limitation that your wall thickness should be greater than 0.5 mm, but the rest you have any aerodynamic shape, any curve, any complex geometries directly can reflected with a 3D printer. So these are some of the end use parts. So if you see, this is a pneumatic arm grip which is used to pick a dashboard glass of a four-wheeler and to place it on a BIW, this body in white design. So this is a with one of the automotive client, they use a 3D printed robotic arm gripper. So if we see the actual design, it is a far more aerodynamic in shape, and it works with the airtight application as it's a pneumatic. So 3D like multi-jet fusion technology can 3D print a IP67 rated part, which is a airtight and fluid tight. Same way, this is the gripper which is used to pick a vaccine from one place and to place it on another. These operate on a pneumatic base. So these are printed in a single shot. If you see this designs, it is impossible to manufacture it in a single shot with the traditional manufacturing technologies. So it is a print like hundreds of these printed in a one single day with the multi-jet fusion technology. And this is a single shot print. So this is used in one of the pharmaceutical company to on their production line to pick and place the glass test tubes and the vaccines. Then this is a pneumatic lateral actuator which is used in the company. So like this, we can implement actual 3D printing on a production line as a production enablers, which are not directly end use part, but which can improve the productivity, which can reduce the downtime of your production lines, assembly lines. So this is another example of the forming tool. So this is a press brake tooling. This black color part, if you can see, it is a 3D printed. So earlier it is used to be machine, but the same limitations with the machine part. So you can get those parts printed within 3 to 4 hours with the 3D printer, and you can directly use it on the production, your production line. To get a very high strength, we have feasibility to insert a metal parts or metal strip inside a 3D printed part to get a very high strength, or we can directly reinforce it with the different fibers. So if you see this particular press brake tooling, this is used on a press brake machine where this sheet metal part is which is already have some laser mark. So this particular tool is used to have this particular marks on the this sheet metal component. So likewise, you can use the 3D printed components as a forming tool to bend the sheet metal. Then you can use it as a master pattern for the thermoforming, where you are reflecting a shape to a plastic sheet. Then you can create the hybrid parts using 3D printing. Like you can create parts with the metal 3D printing as well as a plastic 3D printing to save huge on the cost. So you can have your own custom tooling with 3D printing. So this is one example where we created a hybrid part. So whenever you need a very high amount of hardness and wear resistance, those parts you can 3D print, or you can machine it with the machining or metal 3D printing. And rest of the body where you need a lightweight and a bigger part where the energy absorption is higher, those you can create with the polymer, high strength polymer 3D printing. And whenever you need to pick up the parts which needs a higher wear resistance and hardness, you can use this metal caps, you can bolt it fixedly. And where you need a soft jaw which should not harm the outer profile of a very fine metal finishes, in that case you can use this soft material of the polymer or the composites. Then this is a case study with the John Deere. This particular one is an assembly tool. It is used to hold assembly. It's a fixture actually used on the production line, assembly line of a John Deere tractor. So this one is a 3D printed. If you can imagine traditional manufacturing or the machining process, you cannot make this it in a single piece, and your time to get this part will be more than 10 to 15 days to make it traditionally manufactured. So with 3D printing, we have made this within a 40 hours of the time. And you can save huge in terms of the weight of that particular machine. So same, this is a pick off tool in the John Deere. So earlier they used a part which have a 20 kg of the weight, 24 kg of the bed, but it was very difficult for the repetitive operation, because when the operator used to lift the tool from one place to remove the weld and place it on another cycle of the operation, lifting a 24 kg after each 5 minutes of the cycle was a little hard thing. So we directly 3D printed it with the polymer material which can reflect the same functionality, but if you can see the weight which is drastically reduced. So it's around 8 kg of the reduced weight. So in terms of the tooling development also, you can use a 3D printing, like you can print a thermoset molds, the press brake toolings for the forming tools, the thermoforms, the master pattern for the sand casting, for the blow molds, and you can directly 3D print the injection molds in the metal 3D printing as well. So I'll just cover in a short case studies, because we have a less time, because we have to see the bioprinting as well. So these are some industrial example on the manufacturing shop floor. These are the thread rolling die holder to preserve the external thread, which are very high precise dimensions and which have a very high sharp edges. Then you can 3D print the assembly aids, the shadow boards, which can align and which can reduce your assembly time for one particular assembly. So this is one example of a CMM. So generally when you have a CM machine, those are high expensive machine, high efficiency and expensive machine. So to on a inspection line, when you are inspecting any part with the CMM, we spend almost 10 to 15 minutes in setuping with the V blocks to arrange setup to hold that particular part. So what we end up, if we are spending around 10 to 12 minutes of a tool setup time, in 1 hour we can only inspect around 3 to 4 parts. So it will decrease the efficiency of or the output of that CMM machine. So what we can do, if we are like with the 3D printing, we can generally take the outer profile of this part and we can 3D print that outer profile with the Boolean operations in the CAD. We can create a fixture to hold that particular part, and we can 3D print it within very short span of a time, and we can have that as a holding fixture on a CMM which can hold that part. So your earlier 10 to 12 minutes time spent on setting up the V blocks and all can be reduced to around 30 seconds. So see, if your 12 minutes of the time is getting reduced to 30 seconds, how with how much extent your productivity or the efficiency of machine will increase. If earlier it is used to get a 5 numbers of parts inspected per hour, now you can get around will increase your efficiency of the very great extent, and it will save huge in terms of the cost, if you see. And that is a very good application in terms of the casting. If you see, we have investment casting, sand casting, and vacuum casting. In sand casting, generally we use a wooden material, so we need a high skill manpower to turn out those draft angle, to turn out those actual CAD on a wooden pattern, and it is a time consuming process. To get one wooden pattern manufactured, you may need around a week of a time, and then you need to do a lot of post processing and all. Instead, you can do like if you have a CAD design of course patterns, cavity, or the core boxes, you can directly 3D print those. You can create a sand casting patterns with that, or you can directly use the 3D printed patterns or the cores on you to create a sand cast. So this will save huge in terms of the cost and the timeline, and you can get a very good repetitive because once sand casting have only one cycle, like when your part is made, the sand will go down, and again you have to make that sand mold by pressing the sand with the rubber mallet in the core boxes or the drag and cavities. So 3D printing part can give you a high life with that, and you can save huge in terms of the cost, and speed will be very higher. You can print it within a single day, and you can directly make the sand casting with the 3D printed parts. And there will be a design freedom, because if we are reflecting the actual CAD on a wooden pattern, there will be a lot of challenges in terms of the manufacturing those. But with the 3D printing, you can have the freedom to design a part, design a pattern core as per as the complexities. Then we have a castable materials which can be directly used as a master pattern for the investment casting, like for the jewelries, for the some digital dentistries. You can directly print in a castable resin materials, and you can use those for the investment casting as a master pattern, where it gets melted by a metal, and then you can pour the molten metal inside that cavity, if you know the investment casting process. So in terms of the molding, you can use the 3D printing as well. So what exactly is application with molding is that if you see the normal injection molding molds, the cooling channels plays very vital role in the molding for the one particular cooling cycle, because once the material, the liquid material force in the cavity of the mold, it needs to be cooled, and it needs to be then repelled from the mold to to prepare it for the next cycle of the operation. So typically one cycle takes around 80 to 90 seconds. It depends upon the complexity of the design. But with the traditionally manufacturing molds, we can only have a cooling channel which is in a 90 degrees like this. But if we can 3D print those molds, we can have the cooling channel along the profile of the mold. So what exactly it will add advantage? So it will immediately cool the part when we deposit when we force a liquid material inside the mold. When we pass the coolant through cooling channel, it can immediately cool that material. So your earlier 90 seconds of one cycle can come down to around 50 to 52 seconds. Then second is the heat dissipation, third is the warpage, and fourth is the flashpoint generation. So all those issues can be overcome with conformal cooling channels inside the molds. So this is one of the advantages. Then in the mold repairing, so molds are generally very high costly molds. So after certain runs, or after say 1 lakh or 10 lakhs of the shots, there might be a little wear and tear on the outer profiles or the sharp edges of the mold. So you cannot throw down those 20-30 lakhs value of those molds. So with the DED based electron beam additive manufacturing or direct energy deposition manufacturing technology, in that we have a feasibility to only deposit a material which have worn out. So you can so 3D printing is widely used in the mold and repairing work of molds, repairing work of the aerospace component like turbine blades, engines, which are very high, like high, expensive part and high efficient part. So like in aerospace, there are different types of fuel station, different types of the blades, different types of the turbine blades. Those can be easily repaired with the DED based 3D printing technology. Then end use part. So if you see there are lots of machine, after certain time, certain period of a time, OEM stop supplying the spare parts and all. So with the 3D printing, you can create like we have reverse engineering as well. You can directly scan those parts, extract a point cloud data from that, and you can generate a CAD designs, and you can print those parts which are high legacy part or proprietary parts. Then 3D printing is a very widely used in terms of the digital inventory. So if you see right now, we need a very huge amount of a space in terms of the inventory management and MIS. And there are lots of parts on the production line, all which fail down after a certain amount of time. Like for the some parts, the life is around 1 month. For the some parts, life is around 3 months. So what actually these guys do, they procure those material in advance. So there are lots of costs associated with advanced procurement of material, and the space is required for to store the material. But if you have a 3D printer in house, you can like you can save all the CAD designs, all the CAD diagrams, all the files in one server as a digital inventory, and whenever demand rises, you can print those part on demand within few hours or within very short span of the time, and then you can supply it for the replacement or to supply it for your customers as a spare part. So 3D printing on demand and the digital inventory is a very good very good add-on with the 3D printing, which can help you to save a lot in terms of the cost and in terms of the time to advanced procurement of those parts. So then there are some application 3D printing with in architecture. You can directly like take the so if you know, drones can collect a coordinate data, GIS data, and they provide you a digital elevation models. But for the smart cities, and we should need a actual a scale down model or the GIS information of a particular coordinate. So we can collect the data from a drones or a Google Earth. So those are dated files or digital elevation models, and we can convert those digital elevation models in 3D printable format like OBJ or the STL files, and we can directly 3D print those as in full color at an actual scale, like 1:10,000, 1:50,000, or 1:75,000, so that you can have a particular geographical information, so that where you can, for the smart cities, you can plan water management system, waste disposal system, power distribution system, underground tunnels, overhead bridges. Then you can plan constructions of metros, rails. So all those can be very easy if you have the actual physical model of those coordinates. Then for the military and defense, you can plan the high altitude wars. You need a actual replica of that particular area, so you can plan for your strategies for the war. So there are lots of applications. There are lots 3D printing coming in with the construction. So I will skip this video. There's a little more. So now application of a 3D printing in the medical sector. So if we see the medical healthcare industry, 3D printing is becoming a savior. If you saw the recent pandemic in the COVID-19 situation, only the 3D printing companies were able to supply this essential PPEs and gadgets to frontline health workers. So how exactly 3D printing can help in the medical section? So there are different aspects of 3D printing in the medical section. One is the surgical models. You can directly 3D print a pre-operative surgical models and the intraoperative guides. So what exactly is the pre-operative planning? So there are lots of complexities in the surgeries. Like if you have a blockage in your heart wall or any of the vein, if you have some tumors in the brain, so these were a very complex, and these are patient specific surgeries. So when surgeon refers to CT scans or the actual ultrasonic imaging, 2D images, they do not get actual idea how to plan the strategies for their surgeries. So what we can do, we can convert those CT scans, MRIs data. So those are volumetric data to those are DICOM files. We can directly convert it to a 3D model, and we can 3D print those particular models with actual full color, where you can where surgeons can plan their strategies. So this will help them to strategize their surgery, and this will decrease or this will come down the value of failure of the surgeries to zero. So for the complex preoperative planning, you can use the 3D model. Then for the complex surgery, you need a very special tools or the guideways where you can pass those particular tools for the surgeries. So those can be easily those are patient specific guides which needs to customize with each and every patient. So 3D printing is the field where there is a lot of scope for this customization. Then you can, for the education model, you can print different types of the physical model for surgical simulation for the learners. And for the medical devices, there are lots of biomedical devices are used. Those enclosures, those covers can be directly 3D printed. Those there are lots of parts, assembly parts can be 3D printed. Then in actual biomedical devices like prosthetics, orthotics, upper limb, lower limb prosthetic, there are different types of implants which needs to be fitted in the bodies. Those are either permanent implant or these are bioresorbable, like which will get dissolved after some span of the time. So those can be directly 3D printed. And there is a bio 3D printing where you actually print the cells and the tissues in forms of the scaffolds. So we'll see those in detail. So those are the, if you see this image, those are the areas where right now 3D printing is used. So this is one of the case study where the client, where the patient has come across an accident and he have some breakage in his skull. So we did a MRI and CT scan. We got his information in DICOM format. We converted actually it to 3D format, and we 3D printed it in a titanium material. And then after that, we go for the FDA approval and some sterilization process, and then we implanted in the that particular patient. So likewise, there are different types of the part. You can directly 3D print the model of the heart for the complex surgery. There are end-use parts like a dental surgical guides, then this implant, vertebral implants, hip joint implant. So these are some of the parts. So if you see, these are metal 3D printed hip knee joint caps. So generally on a flat plain surface, tissues never grow. So with the 3D printer, we have made a porous structure on the machine component where tissues can bound together and it can replicate easily. It can grow. So likewise, so this is again one of the complex surgery. So what we did, we converted this ultrasonic imaging to an actual 3D model, and we directly 3D printed those where surgeons have performed their strategies for the operations, and they have carried out this successfully. So to plan for the pre-operative, 3D printing can be widely used. Then these are some of the end-use product. Like if person have some cranial defects, you can print a cranial helmets. If he have some disabilities in his hands, or you may be heard about the Jaipur foot where we use the lower limb prosthetics or the orthotics. So all those can be directly 3D printed and can be implanted on the human body. So this is one of the company where we work with. This is the company called as a DD Lab. So if you see, this man has lost his upper limb, this his hand in some accident. So what we did, we 3D printed this black color hand, and this company has connected this particular hand with to his hand. They have algorithm, artificial intelligence based on the machine codes, machine learning codes. So if you see, he is giving some instruction, and that particular man is giving those instruction to his hand, and that is actually getting reflected on this 3D printed hand. So this is how we can connect 3D printed part with the AI and smart machine learning, so to make it very versatile and easily adopted for the normal human being. So then might be you have seen the ad of Parinita Chopra of the clear dental aligners. Those are again 3D printed. You can 3D print implants. Then in jewelry also 3D printing is widely used. In jewelry is the one of the biggest adopter of the 3D printer. So generally these parts are 3D printed, and then they make a tree of this part. I'll just show you. Yeah, so with this 3D printed part, they make a tree, and then they pour a POP plaster material, ceramic material inside this. So and after that they keep it in the furnace and insert the precious materials like gold or whatever ornaments they need to make, and then this high detail features jewelry is manufactured with this technology. So jewelry industry is one of the biggest adopters. Then drones. So there are generally different types of drones. Some are multi-rotors drones, some are wing types of the drone. So one of the important thing with the drones is that it should be a lightweight. It should have a maximum payload capacity and the battery capacity. So 3D printing can manufacture those drones, the exoskeletons, the structures, connectors, then cargos, the landing gears, the payload bracket mounting, engine covers, camera covers, sensor covers. So everything can be easily 3D printed. So these were some of the potential 3D printing application. And if you see the term design for additive manufacturing, so what exactly is the design for additive manufacturing? So if you see the right now, generally if we 3D print anything, we generally design it in the way of the traditional manufacturing. We did not implement a design for additive manufacturing. So design for for the traditional manufacturing, we have design for manufacturing. We have own sets of limitations of each process, and we have to design a part as per that particular process. So traditional manufacturing needs to design a part with considering those limitations. So our exact idea of the conceptual design cannot be replicated. So with the 3D printing, with design for additive manufacturing, we can able to create as complex as the part. We can consolidate the part in one single component, where we can convert those assembly parts. Just give me a minute. Sorry. So if you see this particular design, this is the one component, a bracket used in the automotive line. So earlier it is manufactured with the 7 different parts assembled together. So with the 3D printing simulation software, we have converted it to a single consolidated design, which have a free-form surfaces and which is a very lighter weight. So this particular free-form surfaces, like we can do the simulations, we can apply node points, we can validate it in the design stage itself, and we can create this part which is a far more which have a far better efficiency in terms of the performance functionality, which is a very lightweight and which is the consolidated single unibody part. So this advantage we can take with the additive manufacturing. If you see, this is a seat belt bracket in flights or the so this is a earlier eight parts assembled together is converted in a single part with a 40% lighter weight and 20% more stronger. So this is the process where Shashi sir were suggesting for the Siemens additive manufacturing solution, where we can create as complex as a part which will be a very easy to 3D print. So this is about like we are running out of a time. I will just give you a detail about the bioprinting, what Engine HR can do. So just a minute, sir. So there are lots of parts. If you need, I can send it to you. So Engine HR is a 3D printer where we can 3D print actual tissues in terms of the scaffolding. So generally we have a cultural medium for the cells or the tissues to grown by this technique. So scaffolds are the material or matrix which can structures that have been engineered to cause desirable cellular interaction to contribute for the formation of the new functional tissues or for the medical purposes. So cells are often seeded into this scaffolding materials, which can be a cross-linked, which can be for the liver tissues, heart tissues, bone tissues, different types of the cartridges of the kidneys, skin, then neurons or the brains or vascularizations for the lungs. So those different types of the bio inks, which are natural or maybe a synthetic biomaterial that can mimic the extracellular matrix, which can support the addition, the proliferation and the differentiation and the replication of the living cells. So it can print those scaffolding material which can accelerate the research and development in terms of the biomedical field. So I got a less time, so I tried to cover a lot of application. Thank you so much. If you have any doubts, you can now ask.
Thank you, sir, for a very informative lecture.
Yeah.
Any questions, you can read it out if you type it on the chat box. You can also ask them. There were a few questions that were asked initially, but I guess Shashidhar sir has replied to most of them.
Okay. Fine. I will just write down my mail ID. If you have any question or anything, you can drop me a mail or you can call me.
There's one question. Thank you, Shashidhar sir.
Difference between rapid prototyping and 3D printing. So basically, rapid prototyping is not exactly rapid prototyping is a method how you can manufacture the prototype rapidly. So it's a part of a product development cycle. Once your design is ready, if you need to produce, once your designs are ready, you need to validate those designs with the prototyping. So rapid prototyping can be with the traditional manufacturing or it can be with the 3D printing. But 3D printing is a tool which can make your prototyping very rapidly. So as you know, 3D printing is a toolless manufacturing technology. It can make and it can print your prototypes within 1 or 2 hours, depends upon the size and complexity of the part, but it can replicate your actual CAD design into physical parts within very short span of a time. So that your prototyping and iterations in the product development cycle will be very faster. So rapid prototyping, like 3D printing is called as a rapid prototyping, but 3D printing is a tool which can make your prototyping very rapid, which will accelerate your product development cycle. I hope this answers your question.
So one more question. How IoT is used in 3D printing?
Okay, so basically, if you see right now, we are into Industry 4.0. So what exactly Industry 4.0 is? We are trying to upgrade our existing equipments in the manufacturing shop floor. So we are trying to make those equipments more and more smarter to convert it for a digital manufacturing transport. So how exactly it is done? First, we need to make those machines more smarter. So how exactly we can do? IoT is a different thing and 3D printing is a different thing, but we can use both in combinations. Like we can connect 3D printer with the IoT devices. We can create a server. We can have on-premises inspection cameras. We can have different types of a sensor on a 3D printer, and we can use it to collect the data from 3D printer, so that that particular data we can match with the CPK value, if you know, process capability index value. So we can match those, and we can make the 3D printer smarter with the IoT devices with the machine learning codes, so that it can auto rectify its error. So IoT can be used in a 3D printing. In fact, lot of 3D printer, in fact, we are working a lot in terms of IoT. We are making 3D printer more smarter with IoT. You can operate those 3D printer remotely when it is connected with the IoT. IoT can help you to collect the data, different data with the 3D printing, like a temperature, any deflection with the standard process index, so that make it more smarter and smarter. So IoTs are used to make existing machines more smarter, more reliable, to make it assess to use operated remotely, and which will make those machines ready for this industry 4.0.
So one more, how elevated structures or photos from drone is converted in STL file?
So basically, that is a process when a drone, or if you say the Google Earth, collect data of any specific coordinates. Those are detailed files. Those are called as digital elevation models. So we have a different softwares where we can convert those detailed or DET files into STL file, and then we have a texture mapping provision where we can actually map the texture of those particular coordinates on that particular STL file, so that we can get a full color part. So there are some softwares which can be used to convert those digital elevation models to STL files, and it's available easily.